Hello and welcome to this special broadcast. Today we talk about Gandhada Gudi, a project that Dr. Puneeth Rajkumar left behind for us, and a project that he dearly enjoyed. He really thought that this is going to be what the future generation needs to think about. Now, what is this entire movie or this documentary about? It is about living nature, living wildlife through the eyes of none other than our beloved Appu. To talk about this, we have none other than Mr. Amoghavarsha, who's of course directed Gandhada Gudi this time around. And more importantly, he's going to take us through how that entire experience with Puneeth Rajkumar, the actor, the celebrity and the wildlife enthusiast was like. So without further ado, let me welcome to our show Mr. Amoghavarsha himself. Everyone wants to know this. How did this really come about from a man who's dancing his way through hearts, beating up villains in the movies, and finally has an interest in wildlife and does something like this? How did this really come about? Tell us that story about.
So I think what really happened was he always was into experimentation with everything, including content. And I think when we first met, we were just bouncing off ideas, and I said we should travel together, and it suddenly kind of naturally said, I think we should do a film, right? It kind of spontaneously erupted. It was a passion project. We started really kind of, I think from the time we discussed it and the time we shot it was just about a month and a half. So that was that quick. He was very excited about it. And then we really felt that the natural wealth that we have in our country, and which I've been really privileged to experience, and then he got to experience, we felt that this needs to be shown to a larger audience. It's very, very important because a lot of these places you cannot access. You need a lot of permissions, prohibitively expensive, a lot of these things. But how do we bring this to the audience at home as an experience? So that is pretty much how it started.
This is one aspect that I spoke to, some people from his team who said that he had seen, for many of you who don't know, Amogh, of course, has directed Wild Karnataka, which has been extremely popular. Sir David Attenborough, of course, was the voice behind that, and it was recognized across the world. Now, he saw this, and that's where the inspiration came from. And I was told that he wanted to do something like this, where he can bring it on a larger scale on the big screen. And of course, Wild Karnataka was on the big screen, but with Puneeth being at the helm of affairs, that changes the entire big screen scenario. So, this is what I heard. So tell me about that when he came and approached you after Wild Karnataka, and how's the transition from there to this bit?
Absolutely, because he had seen Kali, Wild Karnataka, all my films, surprisingly. He was very surprised that, wow, there's so many things in our own state, in our own backyard. So which definitely was a trigger point. And also, like you said, he also wanted to be on screen as himself, which he had never done before. Yeah. So both these elements, I think, tied together.
Okay, and when you really look at his passion for anything, when he thinks that this is something that he wants to do, he does it with all of his heart, and that's seen in the movie, isn't it? So how was it when you prepared him? Take us through that journey from planning to actually delivering, because I want to go through that journey, because for you wildlife comes easy. You've been there, you've spent a lot of time. He's somebody who's used to a lot of people on set. He's used to that fan for following him everywhere. But when you enter the wildlife, the fans are probably the tigers, the elephants and the leopards around. So that must have been tricky for you to convince him.
Actually, it was quite easy because it was Appu. He is somebody who's always up for experimentation, one. And also, he's not a person who says no. He's always up, kind of sport for everything. But I think one thing which is very fundamentally different in our film compared to a lot of wildlife reality series and shows is that typically they're shot in a very short block of time. Yeah. Usually a couple of days, because that's pretty much all the time that stars are able to give. And most of the series where celebrities are on screen is very short, but we shot over a year.
Yeah. And nothing seemed planned here.
Yeah, we just had a very rough skeleton, so to speak, as to what we're going to do, which sequence. But to kind of really answer that question, when I told him that this entails all of these things, we can't go in large groups and we'll have to do this, we have to prepare like this. These are the kind of clothes we can wear. They have to be forest sensitive, rules, regulation. He was game for everything. And like you said, I'm used to not having electricity, phone, running water, all of these things. But I never felt a single day that I was shooting with a star till the last day. And I think that is the reason the film has come out like this, in all its natural essence, which is what people are also saying, that we felt that we journeyed with you all. And to bring that essence, I think only somebody like him could have done it.
Yeah. And I think you've given us a little bit of insight as to how he was and how receptive he was to all the ideas. He also had some ideas. I think he took you to Gajanur.
Yes.
How was that? I mean, visiting that place, I think that Alada Mara, or the banyan tree, it was so beautiful. I don't think many people even knew about this, and this movie brings out all these aspects. And I think now it will become a tourist site.
The good news is all these are protected areas. So I think hopefully we continue to do a good job of protection. So the film, I've always said that has been as much his as mine in terms of the film planning itself, though he would always say that the director's call is the call that I listen to, which is why all the directors loved him. But from day beginning, we kind of felt that this was as much his vision as well of what this needs to be, other than being on screen, which is why the Gajanur thing happened. And one of the most humbling experience of my life, to be able to visit Dr. Rajkumar's house, was an icon for an entire generation who we all grew up watching, and to see it through his son's eyes, I think it was the most overwhelming experience, I would say.
Were there a lot of people shooting with you, the teams, when you were traveling? Because you, of course, need certain level of security. So how often do you actually see it? Many people go for the safari, but not everybody
He
gets
really got lucky. He saw it on the first day, and I took 6 years to see my first tiger, so that's kind of him. But I think I still remember when he saw his first wild elephant, because it's in elephants, domestic elephants. And I was driving, he went back in his seat, because you see a wild elephant in the forest, it's really big. Yeah. You don't imagine it, and it's wild. Yeah. That definitely was a really cool experience for him. I remember another incident which
I think it was just not one elephant, right?
There was a herd. Yeah, there was a herd. Yeah. And the other experience was when we went to this small little village where some kids didn't know him.
Yes, I just noticed that.
Yeah, which was pretty exciting to him. And that's the kind of guy he is. Anybody else would have said, oh, they don't know me, all that, right? He said, oh, wow, they don't know me. So that's another experience. He loved Kali. He really loved Kali and the people, and special place in his heart for that. In fact, anybody who's watched that sequence they don't believe that such places exist. Yeah. I mean, I still can't believe such places exist, because I discovered this place only about 6, maybe 7, 8 years ago, and I'd seen a whole lot of the country and the state by then. And to go and see that village, I just, even today, it feels like a fairy tale magic kingdom that exists, which is untouched by everything. So for me, it just blows my mind.
And he would have enjoyed it. I think he, like you said, he enjoys something new, and there people didn't recognize him. So the food, of course, what he's eaten probably was for the first time that he's probably tasted.
Absolutely. He thoroughly enjoyed food. You would have seen that we went to a shepherd's camp. I still remember this lady was making roti, jowar roti, and we just sat there, and we had not had breakfast because we got late or something, and we just arrived there. We were I think we had both not had breakfast, and we sat there, and she was making it. She said, kodi, and then we just started eating.
So that was not a part of...
we just started eating. Yeah. There was no plan to eat, but we saw it and we started eating it. And that is what we've been realizing. Because the Eastern view of treating wildlife or being connected with wildlife is very different. We don't pull, tug, do all these things. Right? So we are not a culture which is always trying to show that humans are superior. We treat in our culture, all beings have the same amount of importance. Vasudhaiva Kutumbam. We say, we're all one family. The plants, the animals, everything. So even from the very initial days of planning the shoot, we've always discussed, and I used to tell him that nature is big and larger than life, and we are kind of going through that, and nature is the hero. And he loved the idea. So you'll see a lot of shots where we look like specks, and you'll see the grandeur of nature. Yeah. Right? It'll give you the scale. If you see that joke fall shot, where we are like this small.
It just shows it's just a speck.
Yeah, just a speck, right? And to see that on the big screen, I mean, I saw it on the big screen only like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. It still blew my mind.
See, the most important thing that, came to my mind when I saw this is, of course, firstly, living that 1.5 hours through, Appu was great. But when you really look at the message that he's trying to bring out, that blew my mind, because not many celebrities, like you said, I've seen celebrity shows, but they've not been about, nature conservation. The kind of message that it sends out to the younger generation, because you said the eastern part of the world, we of course have been nature worshippers. Many parts of the country, even till today, worship trees, rivers. We do that. But respecting rivers, respecting nature is something that's very latent. It's, on the surface because of our religious beliefs, but as far as, polluting it is concerned, it still happens rampantly. That sort of education is not there. And I think you touched on various of these aspects: protection, conservation. You touched upon stop using plastic, stop littering. Was this something that was planned? Was this an idea?
Yeah, we started with a film that needs to be enjoyable and is entertaining. That was the criteria, but we also didn't want to shy away from messages. Because most of the things that we have learned today growing up is because of cinema.
Yeah.
When Dr. Rajkumar, his dad, was the hero, whatever he did on screen, everyone would hear, right? How to respect women. Yeah. We've learned from cinema. Or how not to do it. Yeah. Even that is learned from cinema. So we said cinema is a very powerful, extremely, extremely powerful medium. If you don't preach and you can do things in a very subtle, just as a matter of fact, people will get it. I saw people whistling for all these messages, which is the first time I'm seeing people whistle for a social message. So I feel that there's definitely scope. Some of the most well-performing cinemas and movies in this country have had very strong social messages. But the idea is to actually blend it with the story and not do it in a preachy way. And that was the idea from day zero.
I think if in many movies we had, actors as big as, power star Puneeth Rajkumar pick up waste plastic from the ground and put it in a bin, I think that would have the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan would have reached at a very high level, don't you think?
Yeah, I think with this, I hope it's already started with this, because this is the first time I've seen where we've gone deep diving underwater and then rescued a plastic bottle.
I mean, that was great to just do it. I mean, to have.
Yeah, we found it. Yeah. We actually, this was not planted. This was not planned. We were diving and we found plastic bottles under the sea, which is crazy to think about it. And this place is off the coast, 30, 40, I think 30 or 20 kilometers or something like that. So off the coast to find plastic bottle. So it's definitely something that we all need to be a little bit more cognitive about. But I think to do it in a way where it's still entertaining. Yeah. It's not that it's a preachy film is important, I think.
So you just spoke about, Murdeshwar, the dive, where, the entire sequence comes in. How was that experience? Because, many people know, well, they've done safaris. So maybe the wildlife part of it, many people have experienced it to a certain extent. But underwater, not many people get to do it. Especially in India, it's just of late that, dives are opening up to this level. So, he was pretty, he looked like a pro. And both of you did. So, have you trained or did you train specifically for the movie? How was that?
No, we both trained. We both have licenses. I had done it long back, forgotten, then we both redid it. Okay. So we've both cleared and we are certified divers. And what is also interesting is that, of course, there's a lot of diving that happens in Andamans and a lot of shoots have happened. But on the mainland of India, diving conditions are not really great because of the visibility and things like this. So this happens to be the clearest area to dive in the entire country for the mainland India is what I'm told.
Are everybody allowed to dive in this area that you
Yeah, you'll have to go with a certified diving group and things like that. You can. But this is also the first time an entire sequence from the mainland Indian waters has been shot in a film like this is what I'm told. So which is pretty exciting
it's actually
for me.
Pretty beautiful, and the waters, like you said, were pretty clear.
Yeah, because typically what happens is when we shoot, even we are doing some films on the ocean, to go to Maldives or Andamans is very easy because the visibility is great. There's definitely more. But I think for us to show such clear waters and such amazing marine biodiversity right in the mainland of India, I think is very exciting for me also to see on a screen.
How deep were you when you actually dived? Because when I've dived a couple of times, the max I've gone is about 11 meters.
Yeah, we went I think about 22 meters.
Wow.
20.
And that means you are thorough professional.
Yeah.
That was great to see. And, coming back to the messages that, either you said, in a subtle manner that you all put out, how has the reach been? You've been, visiting theaters, you've been speaking to the people who watched the movie. How's been the reception for these messages, and overall, has it been ingrained in, at least a few minds?
I think the reception has been stellar, because I definitely knew that people are going to watch this film, but people are taking this film home, which is what I've been told. So many people have started tree planting drives. So many people have started plastic cleanups. We never said anything. This is before the film. And last week I've been just going and watching the film with kids to see. All their faces are lit up. They're all whistling at frogs. They're all like jumping and screaming at tigers and waterfalls. They're asked yesterday, some small kids, did you really go there? So for them, it's disbelief that all this exists, and some people have really gone, because we're so used to seeing computer-generated imagery and graphics and everything else that we usually write off saying everything is graphics. Yeah. So we made it a point to tell people that
nothing is graphics.
Yeah, this is all real. It's all real, and it's all shot in our own backyard. So I think to see the kids' response, and every day the number of kids who are going is just increased. Like today and tomorrow, I think there's so many schools going, government schools, children are going. No, it's very overwhelming at one point, and also I think very humbling to see that a lot of people said that this is my kid's first film in a theatre, and that's their first experience of cinema and wildlife. So I think it's very humbling.
It's great to see that kind of footage, and of course to see Puneeth Rajkumar one last time on screen in that manner. And lastly, I'd like to ask you, in terms of the message that he's given is brilliant. Right, and this seems like the perfect gift before he left us, isn't it? Because he's left that beautiful message of conservation of nature, wildlife. Take us through, lastly, about his thought process behind leaving this message. Of course, we didn't know at that point in time that he's going to leave us, but he had this idea. And today, how is it going to really impact the future?
I think one of the important things for me when he started PRK with Ashwini was to encourage new formats of cinema, do experimentation, which maybe he couldn't have done with all the other production houses that whatever, right? So they said they started a home banner like this. And from day zero till now, Ashwini has been a big part of this film. And I feel both of them wanted to create a change in the world of cinema in terms of what kind of content can we create. And Karnataka is already leading in terms of all the types of formats that we've released. And both of them are very keen on this. So I think with this film, it kind of, I feel, sets a trend that people can say, oh, people can watch films like this. There is a place for films like this. And I think with PRK and with Ashwini and all of us, I think it gives us a lot more energy and runway to do more such things, because it works, right? If your heart is in the right place and you want to do it for the right reasons, I think things work.
So you've been in this journey for weeks together with Appu. If you could tell our viewers something that we won't see in the movies, tell us one experience that you had with him that you could share today with us. I know it's difficult to just say it off the hook, but one experience that you remember.
I think for me, every time we traveled with him, being a wildlife filmmaker and photographer almost 2 decades now, I know 90% of the times things don't work out, because that's how nature is. But with him, everything would just work like this. Very surprising. I still remember that we were shooting on Joke Falls. I was mist covered for 4 days, and our team was there. They couldn't film anything. He came in and I said, I don't know whether we should shoot tomorrow because it looks like it's still misty. So he said, why don't you give it a shot? We went there. It was still misty. The moment we walked to the place to shoot, the mist cleared. We
shot the Midas touch.
Yeah, and then we finished the shoot. I think we have the footage somewhere, and then the mist covers us.
Wow.
So, lot of such things. Like I said, it took me 6 years to see my first tiger. It took him a day, right? So I think a lot of such cool things have happened, but I always cherish the very childlike curiosity that he had, and that kind of wonderment that he would carry with him. And to make all of us feel like shooting with somebody not such a big star, which made the shoot so much more easier. I think these are the things I take away.
Thank you so much, Amog. It was beautiful talking to you and you sharing this journey and of course living those moments and of course telling us about how the legend of Puneeth Rajkumar was through this journey with you. Thank you so much for making time and wish you the best of luck for this project.
Thank you so much.